Go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. I'm Rupal Isman, the director here at the Sydney Knowledge Hub on campus at the University of Sydney. Our mission is to help researchers connect with the outside world, and one of the ways that we do this is by supporting researchers on their commercialization journey by organizing events like this. We also run a co-working space where we have early stage IP-heavy businesses from the university or businesses that are working with the University of Sydney to use this as their primary place of work. I'm calling from Gadigal land and pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander viewers that we have joining us today. So thank you everybody for joining us today for Commercializing Your Research in Smart Sensing. This is a few events that we're holding on smart sensing over the next kind of month and a half. This is the second event that we're having. These are really early days of smart sensing technology. And, I think that a lot of people on this call knows that we're going to have smart sensing sensors in everything from cars to cities to our infrastructure under and above ground and space, healthcare. The applications are essentially seemingly infinite. And New South Wales has the opportunity to be a world leader in this technology. So we have the New South Wales Smart Sensing Network, our partner in this series, which is helping researchers bring their work out of the lab. And you'll hear from Jane Evans from the NSSN later on in the hour. The journey to commercialization for researchers is a road that is less defined than, say, traditional grant-funded research. So today we wanted to give you a brief introduction on what help you can access to bring your research to market. Today's by no means a comprehensive list of all the help that you can access, but it'll be a good start. So we have three speakers for you today. First, we have Stephen Lamb, a commercial theme leader at the University of Sydney's Tech Transfer Office. So Stephen is an invaluable resource for researchers to understand what IP they have and how to get it out of the university and how to kind of start it on that commercialization pathway. I recognize that a lot of people on this call might not be from the University of Sydney, but all the universities have a tech transfer office. So you'll have someone at your institution that can provide a similar role. We have Jane Evans, the MedTech theme leader at the New South Wales Smart Sensing Network, who are bringing together academia, industry, and government to position New South Wales as a global leader in smart sensing innovation. But first up, we have Ben Lindsay, the program manager of the award-winning on-campus INCUBATE program, which is our on-campus accelerator. Their last cohort had a really strong showcase of researchers that are commercializing their work, which is really exciting for I think everyone to see. We had, startups in stroke rehabilitation and making water from essentially air. The mentors that INCUBATE also have available is really crucial for researchers to think bigger picture and to also stay focused when commercializing. Ben will talk about the approach to understanding your customer and about the INCUBATE program. Ben, over to you.
Thank you, Rupal, and thank you, Sarah, Jane, and Stephen. Nice to be here. Let me quickly make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Here we go. Now, can you see my slides there?
Yes, looking great.
The one big slide, perfect. Well, yes, so thank you very much for having me along. It's always awesome doing stuff with the Sydney Knowledge Hub. I think we've got an awesome collaboration just across the traffic lights here on our side of the University of Sydney. So for everyone watching, I'm going to be nice and quick, and I believe we get some questions just right at the end. So I'm from INCUBATE, and INCUBATE is a startup accelerator here at the University of Sydney. It was founded in 2012, and we've helped over 135 startups accelerate, all from a range of backgrounds and ideas, and we've helped them raise in excess of $40 million so far and created over 400 jobs. Now, our focus at INCUBATE is primarily the education and underlying education here. And so we're made for the founders in particular and not necessarily the startups, because, we know the startup world is a little bit messy at times. So what we try and do is focus on the individuals, hope we can impart some skills that you can use no matter what the outcome of this startup or any future idea that you may have. So I'm just getting a few messages. Rupal, do I have the big one slide on?
Yes, you do.
Is that what you're seeing? Perfect.
I can see it. Okay.
I just can't access the chat. I'm just getting, I had a few come through. All right, so who am I? So I'm the program manager at INCUBATE. So that means I'm the person who's here to help you develop your strategies, your go-to-market, and introduce you to the right people. I'm pretty quick to acknowledge if I don't know the answer, but I think I've got a good network of people who can help. Why I am allowed to do this? So I'm also a founder of a medical device startup. It's called Solution. It's a bit of a pun in sports medicine, but it's a relatively new device distributed here in Australia, and we're currently finalising a UK commercial distribution rights and for the US as well. I was the inventor of this device. I navigated all the IP. It's now patented. I pulled together the money and developed all the brand and distribution. So those things, and along with former roles I've had growing other startups, I try and teach both the understanding of the customers and how to take your idea from an idea to a commercial reality here at INCUBATE. And I guess you could say the university's kind of in my blood. I was a graduate here, I swam here. I've been at the university now for 12 years, roughly, or 11 years in some capacity. Now, as Rupal highlighted, we just wrapped up class 16. So class 16 last week in INCUBATE had their demo day. So class 16 of our flagship accelerator. And just to touch point on what Rupal said, and we're business agnostic. We want people from a variety of backgrounds in the program. So we had 3 research teams that stemmed from research here at the university. One, Nurgen, doing the post-stroke rehabilitation, was sponsored by the Sydney Knowledge Hub. We also had 4 teams with female founders. It's something we really push for to make sure we're touching base on all the diverse backgrounds. And, in terms of the successes we've had, even in just the past week since demo day, we've actually just found out this morning that one of our teams secured investment from the first investor and advisor to Afterpay in just 1 week since demo day. So what we really try and do here is set you up to meet the right people so you can take your idea to market. So if that program has just finished, and that's our flagship accelerator here in 2021, what is there for you on the call? So we actually have pre-accelerator programs that are part-time, so they're very easy to commit to. And the goal here is to help you discover your path to market and get you ready to turn your idea into a business. And then once you go through these, you can come along to INCUBATE, where we help you accelerate by developing a business model. So first up, we have the Proto Workshop series, where the goal here is understanding the foundational steps that you need to take an idea to market by teaching you what's called the Lean Startup methodology. Now, this is for those of you who might have an idea. It might be what they call a napkin idea, something that's written down. You kind of want to do something with it, and you don't know what's next. So come along, be a sponge, absorb all you can and learn from us. These proto workshops are very relaxed. It's a very easy format and they're open to everyone. Now, if you enjoy it and you want to validate your idea with customer discovery and industry engagement, this is where the next program comes in, which is Proto X. Now, this is where we help you validate that idea, help you meet potential customers and target your initial industry. Now, what I want you to think about when we're talking about customer discovery and validating ideas, no matter how good your research idea is, something as simple as communicating it slightly the wrong way can be what decides whether you're a success or a failure. So what we do here is encourage and teach you to ask the right questions of potential customers, how to engage customers, so you can start to understand how they see value in what you're doing. And so you can communicate it in a nice streamlined way to them. Now, it is relaxed, but it's not as relaxed as the workshops. There are fortnightly workshops, fortnightly group sessions that run for about 2 hours. in between, we ask you to engage your customers, reach out to them, and start to validate your idea. In ProtoX, we have myself as a mentor, plus mentors from within the university or from outside venture capital firms. And it's available in 2 streams, one for startups, but one in particular for the people here, for researchers. Now, the research stream, what we do here is we separate the researchers from the startups because you tend to have more difficult customers to talk to. You know, a startup might be able to talk to 50 customers a week because they can just trawl Eastern Avenue at the university. Whereas your customers might be more difficult. Someone in MedTech, you might have to talk to certain surgeons. So we want to surround you with like-minded people who are moving at a similar pace. Now, ProtoX Researchers was first established by Rabab Nasrallah, who was a researcher herself and used to run the research engagement here at INCUBATE. Rabab was also the editor of the first Australian edition of Innovation to Impact, and I believe her sister is the editor of the next edition. Now, we've helped numerous research teams, including Codex, who was in our previous Class 16. Ed came through ProtoX and went on to INCUBATE. Something we're trying out this year as a pilot, which I really recommend you all try tap into, is for researchers and technology-orientated founders. So if you're not a researcher, but you've got something of high tech and you're interested in smart sensing, we're piloting an MBA collaboration here at the university. Here in this program, we're looking to partner you up with someone who can help you find the potential customers and will help you execute and develop a business model. We hear it often from fund managers. I'm very lucky to talk to managers of, you know, large venture capital or private equity funds here in Australia, the UK, Europe, and America. They all say the same thing. They love deep tech. They love researchers, but they love all of that as long as there's some business skills or a business orientated co-founder with them. So we've developed this optional stream where you get to informally partner with an MBA part-time student who will help you improve your industry engagement, engage more customers, develop that stronger business model, and potentially make you investor ready sooner, whether that be as your team currently stands, or if you like the MBA student, you can potentially bring them on as a co-founder, but there's absolutely no pressure to do so. For everyone here through all these processes, sorry, Siri's been listening to me for the last couple of minutes and just regurgitated it. For everyone, we have the INCUBATE Accelerator next year as well. Now, this is for people who, from this community, come join us. You know, you develop a bit of an idea, and then in the accelerator, we make you investor ready by helping you develop a strong business model and a stronger team. This is business agnostic, so it's available to anyone. So anyone listening, if you have an idea, it will be worth applying to. You know, we take no equity stake. It makes us unique for all accelerators here in Australia. We do give you grant funding, a $5,000 sum. And as I said before, any student, any research, any staff member, anyone from the University of Sydney ecosystem is welcome to apply. What we're really hoping to do with all of this is basically allow you to establish an idea through research within the university ecosystem. Then you can participate in the Proto Workshop series or jump straight to ProtoX, where we help you with your customer validation and industry engagement. Then if you would like, you can apply to the flagship accelerator to then get your business model and your team sorted. And then lastly, as kind of means of a graduation, we're hoping to then empower you to go over to the Sydney Knowledge Hub, work with the other researchers with that foundation set. So you can work in a community of like-minded people. Maybe they're a few lessons ahead of you, or maybe they're at the same level, to really build on your idea together. There's nothing like talking to someone who was where you are at now, you know, 6 months ago or 12 months ago. They really can give you some strong key insights. Some successes through the INCUBATE program, BioScout, now, you know, who also went through Sydney Knowledge Hub as well. You know, so an awesome collaboration success between us. Recently, we were awarded $627,000 in the Physical Sciences Fund. AMSL Aero just raised another $6 million to scale their idea. Earth AI have raised numerous rounds and are very very successful in finding gold and minerals using AI technology, and Uprise was recently acquired. Another team who I always like to shout out, who's now at the Sydney Knowledge Hub as well, and again highlighting the strength of utilising this pipeline between the two sides of the traffic lights here with INCUBATE and the Sydney Knowledge Hub, is DetectedX, who credit INCUBATE to helping them turn an academic idea into a commercial reality. We then, there were now DetectedX are over at the Sydney Knowledge Hub, taking that foundational learning and scaling it, surrounded by the right people. So would love to get anyone here who's watching and excited ready for the 2022 Accelerator. So if you would like to register your interest and apply for the ProtoX Research to Impact, you can either scan the QR code, which is a bit useless when you're on a computer, or you can head to incubate.org.au/ProtoX to find out more. Now, applications close on the 30th of May, and the cohort will be announced on the 1st of June with our first induction day on the 8th of June. So that's a Tuesday in the evening. I would love to see you all there. I can't really see you now, but yeah, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, Ben. We had a question from the audience while you're speaking about who INCUBATE is open to, which I can take that here. So INCUBATE is open to kind of current staff, students, or alumni at the University of Sydney.
Yep.
However, I just want to note that some of the fundamentals that INCUBATE teaches, such as customer discovery and how to communicate your value proposition and how to pitch and so forth, those are kind of common curriculum for many accelerators, and you most likely, wherever university you're at, probably has an on-campus accelerator that can assist you with that. Or there are other accelerators around town. I think Sarah, if you have a chance, maybe if you have that list of accelerators, I think that's from Airtree. We can send that on. Yep. Otherwise, they're easy to find. The Sydney Knowledge Hub is available for anyone, so any research-based organizations. If you're external to the university, then you should be working or looking to collaborate on research with the University of Sydney. Next, oops, Stephen, are you walking away?
I'm sorry, I just need to get my charger. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Next, we have Stephen Lamb that is getting his charger, who's going to talk about how to take your IP out of the university. Of course, that's the foundational point as you are doing your research in the lab. How do you actually take that intellectual property and go through the proper channels through the university, so the university can either support you through that process by helping with your provisional and your PCT patent, or finding industry partners, or they can kind of like clearly enable you and assign the IP to you so you can confidently go forward with your startup and not have to worry about down the line, if you don't go through the proper processes at your university, by the time you're raising your first round, you're going to run into some trouble. Investors ask some heavy questions about where does the IP lie. So I highly encourage you, if you're a researcher, to ensure that you bring your tech transfer team on board as early on in the process as possible. That way they can kind of be a partner with you during kind of the progress of your research, rather than kind of getting to the pointy end and having some tough conversations that you didn't expect to have. So Stephen, over to you.
Thanks, Rupal, and thanks for the introduction. Well said. Yeah, what you said, everything is correct. So let me just share my screen. Is that okay?
Yes, we got it.
Yep. So yeah, I'm Stephen Lamb. I'm a commercial theme manager, a leader for science at the University of Sydney. We're part of the commercialization team within the research portfolio. So just going through, what we are, what we do, and what kind of support that we able to provide to our researchers. So I just thought maybe we can start this presentation by just looking at a case study, something that's a case that's common in the university. This is something for our audience to think about. So in this case study, researcher A developed a new medical device that monitors heartbeat at night and can then determine your level of anxiety. Now, when researcher A was developing it, he tapped on a friend's shoulder to help him with developing the software app and some of the visualization and the analysis. That friend has a company, but it was just asking a mate for help, and there were no formal agreements between the researcher and the company. Now then, down the line, an external investor was interested in this technology, and they wanted to set up a meeting to discuss. During the meeting, the researcher exposed how the software was created, by who, and says that software and algorithm is owned by the friend. Subsequent to the meeting, the investor didn't want to continue with the discussion. So this scenario happens a lot. It's very common. Maybe I've give you some time to think out why. Why did the investor pull out of those discussions? So probably the straight answer is that the investor, upon knowing that the algorithm wasn't developed by the researcher and there wasn't any research or formal agreements in place, they can see that the IP issues is complicated. It's going to be complicated, and it will be hard for them to convince them to continue with that investment. Another sort of analogy that I always use is that IP or intellectual property is just like any other assets. It's just like a house or your shares in a company. So when you're buying a house, you would do your own due diligence, where your lawyers would do checking the title of the chain of title of the land or the house before you purchase house. And it's quite the same with IP. You want to make sure that you have a clean chain of title, and that's what investors also look at when they're investing in a startup or a company. So I'm part of, as I mentioned, I'm part of the commercialization team, and this is what we do every day. And what we're here is to help our researchers to evaluate, protect, and market and license university technology and software. So we do the protection of IP and also the commercialization of IP. We're also here to help our researchers to advise them on any intellectual property issues, and we promote for our researchers to work with industry and get those technology out there to be used and to create an impact. So I'll just probably give you some of the sort of the data about how universities are doing in terms of commercialization. So these data are from 2019. As you can see there, in the University of Sydney, where in 2019 we made almost $6 million from royalties, trademarks, and licenses. Of course, you can see some of the leaders in Australia, including University of Queensland and Monash, received a lot of income, and that's through their great drug discovery programs in which they receive a lot of royalties from their blockbuster drugs. So when you look at also, how many startups, that is spun out of the university in 2019. These data are assessed for the spun outs from university staff, and as you can see, University of Sydney are doing quite well compared to other universities, and a lot of that is credit to INCUBATE and also the Sydney Knowledge Hub. So maybe I'll just also go through what's the technology transfer process here at the University of Sydney, and what is it like for for researchers. So the very first thing that when I talk to researchers and what starts off this process is as having good record keeping, and the keyword that I would suggest to the audience here is lab books. So it's important. It's very important to keep your lab books up to date, because that would give you evidence to show when was the invention invented, what are the crucial data that was in the invention, and also who are the inventors, and what input did they have in the invention. So always keep your lab book up to date, have good records of what you did in the invention. The next step is you've done your research, you got all the data, and you think there's an invention, and I would recommend disclose it to your university as soon as possible, because that way the university office, the commercialization team can help you sort of advise you on what's the next steps and how to protect it. We often received a lot of disclosures like 1 day before a publication is due. Now that's not ideal. To have a really good patent, or to make sure we have the right protection, we want to work with researchers early on, and get put in a really good patent application. My recommendation: disclose your invention early to your commercialization office, and then we can work with you on how to or develop a strategy to protect it, so that you can also publish your work, but we can also protect it in the same place. And then through your disclosure, we would do our team will work with the researcher to do an evaluation. What we do is we look at if the invention is patentable or not. What are the commercial opportunities for this? What is the existing market? What are the routes to market? That's something that we would do in our evaluation process. The other thing is that we will also conduct our own due diligence, and that's for us to again review the chain of title, who has ownership, who has inventorship, and we try to sort all those details out before we would proceed to protection. And then after the evaluation, we would present here at the University of Sydney. We'll present it to our intellectual property committee, where the committee then discuss and decides whether they want to, whether this invention is have enough merits for the university to proceed to protecting the technology, either through a patent application or a copyright protection. Once we have that IP protected and we have all conducted all the due diligence, and it's all the agreements in place, we would then go out and disclose to our commercializing partners. We would work with the researchers to identify potential industry partners, and sometimes also if the researcher or the research team is is keen, we're happy to discuss with them, about spinning out a company. And at that stage, we always will recommend the team to talk to INCUBATE, talk to the Sydney Knowledge Hub to get more information about whether spinning out a startup is the right choice for them.
Stephen, before you go on, can I just going back to the last slide? So confirming that the kind of two routes of commercialization are, one, a license where you're taking the invention and working with an existing business. Your tech transfer team helps find an existing business that can use your technology. Or the other option is the creation of a new venture, in which case, in almost all cases, the researcher would have some sort of lead role in this new venture. And that can come in a few different forms. That could come as, the CEO and founder. That could come as a science advisor. So that can come in a lot of different ways, particularly if a commercialization partner, in our case, it's Uniseed or IP Group, is interested in investing very, very early on. Someone like a Uniseed tries to, they will find commercial team members for the founding team. They're really looking for who is that, who can understand the market, who can figure out the revenue model, and get the first customer and beyond. So I think either way, it requires a commitment from the researcher to kind of take an entrepreneurial path, although the level of commitment is kind of dependent on who else is interested in supporting the startup.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly correct. So the licensing method, you can probably say that's a traditional method. That works well within the university and has been working for the last 20 years. And a lot of I must say, a lot of the drug discovery is still going through the licensing route. But we do see there's a trend of a lot of researchers now that they're keen or to think about setting up their own company and doing a startup. And as you can see in the earlier data, we see this trend going up, and we're also here ready to help researchers to take on that path as well. There are many benefits to the researcher being involved in a startup, and the university also supports that.
One more point, Stephen, that I wanted to make about licensing is when a piece of technology is getting licensed, there is inherently less risk in that. There's a business that is already set up, understands its market, understands its strategy, and has a full operations going, and this is plugging into something that's existing. So, and the researcher can benefit from that as well. Commercially, they can benefit. They get income generated from that. So startup is also a viable path, but there's significantly more risk involved in that option.
Yes, that's right. So that's why when the researcher is thinking about going down the startup route, we always recommend talk to as much people as you can. Talk to other people that have done a startup before. Talk to INCUBATE. Talk to you guys. Sydney Knowledge Hub. Get as much information about what it involves doing a startup. As you said, it requires a lot of commitment from the researchers and the founders, and so it is a big step. So as RuPaul mentioned, we partner with two venture capital firms. One is Uniseed, and the other is IP Group. So these are venture capitalists that what their specialty is that they invest in really early stage deep technologies. So they look at all forms of research from university and try to bring that to market. And not only do they bring in the money to further develop the research, they also would be helping you form that team or form that bring in a CEO to run the company, and where the researcher can be, a chief technical officer or a advisor, scientific advisor to that startup. So UniSeed is Australia's longest running venture fund, started in 2000, and basically it's made up of 4 universities plus CSIRO, so University of Melbourne, University of New South Wales, Queensland, and University of Sydney. They have a $50 million fund that's currently running, but there are also other funds that they have that's going on as well. One of the recent successes we have is that Ageris, that's spun out of the University and Faculty of Engineering, where it's revitalizing agriculture and on-farm robotics. The other one is, as mentioned, is IP Group. They're British based venture capital, but they do have a dedicated team in Australia, where the GO8s plus Auckland, University of Auckland, are part of we have an agreement with them for them to invest in research that's coming out of these universities. Now, IP Group is a $200 million fund, and they have a lot of international experience, and they have again also a dedicated team here in Australia. So one of the investment that they made is that also came out of INCUBATE as AMSF Aero, and this to do all with an all-electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle that can carry passengers. So maybe I just recap on what type of support that we provide here, and what does our team do. We can help you with publication review. So if you think that you have an invention, it's about to go into publication, send it through to us. We're able to tell you if you should seek a protection before that publication, because with a patent, one of the crucial things has to be novel. And what we mean by novel is that it has to be not publicly disclosed before the patent application. We also, again, we advise on IP, what's intellectual property, and any intellectual property issues, related issues with that. We're also able to help you with in this industry engagement, advising on how to work with companies, and also participate in any agreement negotiations. We also, at the University of Sydney, we also have a proof of concept fund. We do have around every year, and that's really to fund some early stage research that just need a little bit of funding to help them develop their first prototype, or complete that proof of concept study, so that it can go off and attract external investors. That internal grant, this proof of concept funding can be awarded up to $88,000 for any project, and it's able to support activities like prototyping. If it's a drug, it can be used to test in vivo testing, or if we want to engage an external consultant to develop a business plan, or looking at the market, that can also be used for that. It also can access the university's core research facilities, and also the animal services. As you can see, there is also a trend of the total amount funded awarded, because we do see there's also a growing trend of disclosures that we receive. So definitely, a lot of researchers are very keen and to start with this commercializations of the research. So I'll just probably stop there, but I just want to end the presentation with just one more case study. And again, it's happened quite frequently that we see here at the university. So this time it involves a student. So student A was enrolled in PhD degree. That's part of a supervisor got an ARC discovery grant to develop an air quality sensor. So, and then during the PhD, student developed the sensor and they went on and patented the sensor themselves and formed a startup. And then an external investor again was interested in startup and want to invest, and they went off and do their own independent due diligence. After the due diligence, the investor pulled out of the investment. So probably I was asked, you should ask the audience why, and have a think about it. So the answer to that is, again, the chain of title to the IP wasn't clear to the investor after the due diligence. Yes, the PhD student did develop the sensor during his PhD, but does that mean that the supervisor wasn't involved? Because the supervisor got the grant. Maybe the supervisor has already thought of the idea before the student was enrolled. So again, this is something that we can go through and sort of clarify with the student and the researcher when, for example, if the researcher submits a disclosure to us, and that's something we can advise and help on that. So the key message I want everyone to take home is that do disclose your technology to your commercialization office as early as possible, and then we can deal with and sort out any of these IP issues really early on, so that when you do go off and commercialize and even doing a startup, that these intellectual property issues won't come up later on. All right, thank you. Also, this is our internal website, so there's more information about what is intellectual property and what are the procedures in the university, as well as some internal funding grants. And happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. I have a question for you that might be obvious to everybody or may not be. What is an invention?
So an invention, in terms of patent, an invention is something that's novel, something that hasn't appeared before, it's not in the literature, and it's a discovery basically. So in a patent,
before that though, like when people are doing a record of invention, how do they know if they have invented something? Is there kind of a one-for-one match on like publications and inventions, or?
Usually no. So usually again, that's when our invention disclosure form helps, because on the invention disclosure form, it has a series of questions that researchers sort of answer, and that sort of helps them sort of conceptualize the idea of what is the invention. And then when we do assess the invention, we work with our external patent attorney professionals, where they also were able to tell us if that is a patent or not. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't think it's an invention, I still suggest put in a disclosure, and then you will have an informed decision of whether or not you got something novel there.
We have a question from the audience about when the actual company is formed. Is it formed first and then investors are sought? Do you kind of pitch for investors and then you form the company? Who are the initial stakeholders?
Yeah, so probably that's I can probably tell the difference between the commercialization team here at the university and the INCUBATE. The difference is that INCUBATE, they'll work with you, work with the researchers or students when there is an idea. But from my perspective, or from the commercialization team's perspective, is that we work when there's a disclosure on IP. We work on what is that asset, and then we then discuss what are the options, and we work with the researchers to sort of determine what are the options available, whether it's a licensing opportunity, or whether it's a startup opportunity, or in some cases, if our commercializing partners, IP Group communities are interested, that might be also a startup opportunity through that avenue.
Great. Yeah, and I think that basically at Uniseed and IP Group, they will invest in an invention. Other than that, I think investors are investing in teams plus inventions. So you will need to figure out your team first. They are, it's not just about the idea. So, it's do you have the right invention? Is there a market for this? Are you the right people to take this idea forward and make money from it? Okay, I think that's all the time we have for Stephen. And last but not least, we have Jane Evans, who is from the New South Wales Smart Sensing Network. We'll tell you a little bit about the NSSN and how they can help you find the right industry partners, and also how they can support you on your commercialization journey. Jane.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction, Rupal. Sarah's kind of going to share my slides behind the scenes, and I will talk. So thank you, Sarah. I'll first just tell you a bit about our network. So we were established in 2018, so we're 5 years old this year. We were established by the New South Wales government. And I'm very lucky to work with a smart team of people covering environment, ag tech, manufacturing, MedTech resources, energy, and we have expertise in AI, machine learning, engineering, biochemical sensors, and nanotechnology. What I bring to the table, sorry Sarah, do you mind just moving forward as I talk? Thank you. Probably back slide 5. We can, thank you. So I'll just talk quickly about my background. I've got over 20 years in the MedTech industry side of things, so mainly class 3 devices. That means an implantable device, but a lot around new technology across cardiology, vascular, and peripheral. So I'm lucky enough to work with a lot of smart professors and PhD people in this space in smart sensing. So what we do, we complement your tech office within your university. So as I'd like to echo what Stephen said, make sure that you've talked to your tech office first before you talk to us. Make sure they're aware of where you're going with your research. We can then help you look at what you have. And as Stephen said, it's good to come in early. So a lot of companies, and as Rupal said, venture capital companies are interested in a TRL of say 1 to 2. So Johnson & Johnson would want to talk to you there, where smaller investors or private investors may want to talk to you when you're at stage 5. But we can help you detect what stage you're at and build a proposal form to present to investors. Don't come to us late. We get lots of requests to come. I've got a grant next month. Can you get me an industry partner? It's not how industry work. They need to build up a relationship with you and trust you. So we might start with a small industry collaboration for you to improve that relationship. You trust the company trusts you, and then they might be involved in a big grant moving forward. Or just to get to know each other primary, but just not going in for funding cold. It's not really how it works from an industry point of view, unless you're very lucky, and especially these days that's changed a lot. So I guess my advice from a MedTech perspective is make sure what you're looking at is research that's going to make a difference to that patient or make that doctor's life easier and have an effect that's going to improve someone's life. It's not just a novel idea. So we work with industry, we look at the problems they have. We might bring researchers together across our 8 universities to solve that problem. So you may have an idea, but you may not have the expertise in IE or manufacturing or whatever it might be. We will look across our 8 universities and get that capability for you. We'll then pull together a task force across those universities, which we'll introduce you to, and you will be able then to discuss the idea, present a proposal with maybe 2 or 3 universities, depending on what your capability needs are. We will then present that to industry and see if they're interested in collaborating either with an industry collaboration or a grant. So that's really what we do across environment, ag tech, manufacturing, medtech resources, and expertise across IA and machine learning.
Jane, can you just let Sarah know when you want her to switch slides, because she's just not sure about when so if you can just give her a cue, that would be great.
Yeah, sorry, we've just gone across that one, so we'll go to the next one. Thank you. So, and we'll move forward because I've sort of talked about who we are, and again, sorry. We'll might just go to slide 13 really, because then we can talk more on case studies. So, sorry, just back on slide 13. Forward one. Just to where we've got the aging grand challenges. I think that's slide 13. Yeah, slide 13.
She doesn't have the slide numbers.
Oh, sorry. Okay, that's the slide anyway. Thank you. So you may have seen this year that we did 4 grand challenges. So we see a problem in New South Wales or nationally that we feel that we can maybe help across our 8 universities. So obviously COVID hit. We looked at how we could bring our universities with expertise in epidemiology, in vaccines across the table, PPE, ventilators. We brought task forces across those challenges in COVID. So we work with MTP Connect closely, which you're probably all aware of. If you're not, we can introduce you with MTA, which is the Medical Technology Association, which has got 150 medical companies involved. So they actually work closely with federal government when we looked at producing ventilators and PPE. So we get involved, and we found circuit-wise to do the circuit-wise for ventilators. So that helped government move faster forward when we thought that we needed all those ventilators. We then look at PPE. We were looking at antiviral protection to put on masks for in the hospital. We found that Newcastle University were already manufacturing face shields for Hunter Medical, and so we had expertise at New South Wales University that could actually apply a coating that would prevent COVID going on the mask or make it safer, so improving personal protection for our frontline workers. We then had 2 forums that was trying to help public understand what's happening in COVID and try and calm it down and stop the mayhem that was happening when it first happened, and sort of bring a sense of balance to the whole infrastructure. I think we got good feedback from that. We were on ABC and radio, etc. But the feedback was it helped people understand from the general public to what was actually going on in science and how that was helping the government move forward with this pandemic. We also had another grand challenge, which was ageing, which obviously with the Royal Commission, that's a very important topic now. And we're trying to respond now to what's come out of the Royal Commission. As you may be aware, there's about 148 proposals that's come out of that. So we're working with the likes of GE Healthcare Medical, Cicada, and CSRO. They have the data, GE have the platform. Cicada and myself can bring researchers to look at that platform to maybe minimise it in people's homes or residential homes to solve some of the problems across dementia or just feeling safer in your home. Our team also worked on bushfires and water, and we've also worked on, we had some forums last week on waste. So it's bringing general awareness out to industry, what we do, bringing our researchers in to solve problems. So we are an add-on to your university, but we bring in 8 universities to break down silos and hopefully bring expertise that can move your research, move it faster. We can bring in industry to scale it for you, or we can find certain aspects that you need to build a prototype. We can help connect you with an industry that can help you that. We also have lots of connections in the local health district. So if you need to run a clinical trial, or if you just want an end user, so a vascular surgeon or a cardiologist, to listen what your research is and see whether that can actually make a difference in his everyday life and benefits to his patient before you move any forward, we can help with that sort of thing as well. So we complement Stephen's office and other universities within our 8 university network. And so if you would like to contact us, we can just go to the last slide, Sarah. That's our website. You'll see we have a whole board there, and we have a newsletter that our media expert sends out every month. You can sign up for that, and also follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to find out where our regular events and workshops and seminars are happening. And please just phone us. A phone call can save 10 emails, and we can then direct you across our theme leaders or to our business development person to put you in the right direction and bring our experts. Like, we all work in different areas, but we work very closely together, especially with the environment, because that can affect health. So we work as a team and just see where we can help you move forward.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jane. Yeah, that newsletter is fantastic. So I highly recommend you sign up for that. We can send a link on our the follow-up email. Jane, I had a question for the grand challenges. So you have these theme areas, and then do you send out, is it a request, an expression of interest that you guys send out for researchers to kind of tag on, or how do you kind of source the researchers in a particular area for some of the research that you need to kind of build out?
It depends. Like, obviously the grand challenge was done, that was created actually before I started. So they had these 4 grand challenges. So we started off with the Aging Forum in February, and with COVID, obviously we were limited to 41 people, but we wanted industry, government and researchers represented at that. We wanted to hear from government industry what their problems were, not, I know the great ideas researchers have, which is fantastic, but we wanted to hear what the problems are in industry and what the problems are that government needs to solve. We picked certain researchers to be present in that. We had small companies as well, but it was to get the conversation started, because there seems to be lots of people working across it in lots of different areas, but it was the initial to bring it together to hear what the problems are. So from that, like GE Healthcare had never really talked to CSRR about the data, and they didn't know about their platform to solve a problem, maybe in dementia or navigating someone's home. So we're kind of like connectors. Everyone can't do it alone. Everyone's kind of too busy to do it. So what we do is hopefully speed up the process or connect you to the right people to help your research move forward. You know, in the PPE, we looked across our 8 universities and saw who had specialties in antiviral coatings, who had expertise in manufacturing, who had connections with respiratory and local health funds. So we look across that, we bring that team together, introduce them all, and even we find within one university, people have never spoken to a doctor who's been across the road for 15 years and didn't realize he could do his fluid dynamics with an engineer at the university, and he's been sending it off to Singapore, where he could have just walked across the road. So it's that sort of stuff we do, and hopefully it helps break down silos, make people collaborate more. And especially in the smart sensing world, we recommend, you know, don't start from the beginning with a sensor, take it off the shelf. There's lots of on-the-shelf sensors that you can purchase, and you can improve those to fit whatever problem you want to solve.
Great. Does anyone have any last questions for Jane or Stephen or me? Well, we're about at time, so thank you so much, Ben, who had to run because it's their last day. It's his last day with the cohort of the current accelerator. So thanks, Ben, Stephen, and Jane, for your time. Thank you so much, Sarah, our community manager at the Sydney Knowledge Hub, for organizing this. As mentioned, we're going to be